G'day, AJ Mahar here. I've been doing some podcasting, and I just want to talk quickly here in this hopefully short video about how many of you out there, you've been ghosted, discarded, maybe relationship recycling. Now you're in limbo. Maybe you don't know what's going on. Maybe it's really over with that borderline, but you're not sure or you don't want it to be. And do you think that maybe if they just would apologize to you, somehow you could go back and give it another shot? Because they've hurt you so much. So many people say, I've heard this from clients too, but so many people say out there that, hey, why don't they ever just apologize? Why don't they ever just own kind of like what they did, to me, each one of you might say out there. And I really just want to ask you to think about this today, because if the person with BPD would apologize to you, how's that really going to be enough to try again? And you might be in massive denial about what's really going on and how difficult it really all is and how impossible it really may well be. But so many people out there, are you one of them? What do you think about this? Do you think that if the person with BPD in your life, in any relationship type, would just apologize, then, we could get back together? Or if it's a parent, well, then again, maybe I could talk to her, maybe I could get her to listen, maybe she would hear me finally, or he, if it's a father. Or do you think like with a sibling, or if you were the favorite person of somebody with BPD, or any relationship whatsoever, that if they would just freaking apologize for what they actually do to you, that would somehow mean, well, you could try again. You could talk to them again. You could hang in there with them in whatever relationship type. And in a significant other relationship, you could go back. A lot of people want their ex back so badly, right? And it's like, why are you putting yourself through that? And then, again, I don't want to sound too repetitive, but do you think if they would just apologize, that you could go back, if they would take you back, if you could reverse Hoover them, and they Hoover you, and all their Hoovers are deceptive, and all their Hoovers are full of false promises. But do you really think it all hinges on whether the borderline apologizes or not? Because people with BPD, untreated, denying it, not getting help, and a lot of them never going to get help. They're not going to just age out of it. They're not going to just remit. Remittance, I think, has a lot to do with, let's ground the information, right? There's lots of studies. Let's be grounded with it. People with BPD just don't snap out of having BPD. If it were that simple, why has it always been called, pervasive, permanent personality disorder, which I've never agreed with? But do you really think that with everything they do, as much as you still may feel strongly that you love that person with BPD, who you really don't know, because they're not really who you thought they were, but do you really think an apology would change the world for you? And I know a lot of people, I've worked with clients for 34 years. A lot of people think the answer to that is, yeah, why not? Because, wow, if they could just apologize for what they did to me, maybe that means that they have some awareness. Do you know how many people with the patterns of BPD, or who have BPD diagnosed, denying it, untreated, substance abuse issues, comorbidities, all these things that make for so many people with BPD that aren't going to get treatment, because the prognosis for people with BPD is excellent, really positive, if they'll get treatment, but so many of them won't. And lots of people have just been with somebody with BPD who's, like in their 40s or 50s, and they're not aging out, ladies and gentlemen. They're not. So people talk about this and everything, but do you really think if they would just apologize to you and make it all okay? Because maybe you've had iterations of the borderline version of the apology, non-apology, and maybe you thought, oh, hey, Now they recognize something. I had a lot, and when they don't really, it's not going to change the behavior. It's not going to change the really unstable, impossible relationship dynamics that they still will bring to you almost every day in a relationship or in a try again or a redo or a recycle, because they sort of stammered around and got out half a non-apology apology. I'm sorry that you felt that way. I'm sorry that, you got hurt. I didn't mean to do it. I don't know why you feel that way, but I'm sorry that you do. Like, these are not apologies. And so many people are hanging on for apologies. And, a lot of people that I've worked with have had their moments of, being in no contact, working really hard in the process to heal and recover from somebody with BPD and the relationship breakup. And then they're like, but I just want to contact him or her one more time just to see if they apologize, right? That reaching for closure, that, guess what? You don't get it from the person with BPD. You don't get it from somebody with BPD that paints you all black, splits its valuation, ghosts you, and then discards you. Whether you go around a few more times, a ton more times or not, they're not getting it. And I've had so many clients also say, along with this apology importance and trying to get closure, fix something so something will work, you're trying so hard. That's the codependent part. You're giving, you're over-giving, you're explaining, you're doing the jade, the justify, argue, depend, and explain. Well, the person with BPD keeps flipping the topics and not really apologizing. But maybe they'll say something in a Hoover attempt that's like, wow, that sounds like they really understand what they did. Seems like they have a lot of awareness. And I've had a lot of clients say to me over the years, 34 years I've been working with clients now to help them heal from these relationships, etc., and adult children, BPD, or borderline or narcissist, etc. Well, many people will be like, I think, like, she's so aware, though, in spite of how they behave and in spite of the relational instability and their not knowing themselves, etc. Many a client has said to me, but she really had a lot of awareness because, or he had a lot of awareness because he or she said, whatever it was they said this to me, they said that to me. But be aware of borderline, untreated, or if they're not even diagnosed and they have patterns of, be aware of that, quote, awareness, unquote. Because sometimes they can have a lot of it, but they have self-awareness deficits as well. And guess what happens with that? You'll hear something and it might really matter to you, and you think, okay, good. Well, like now we're on track. Now we can make it work. But no, because their awareness will be really fleeting until the next trigger and the next experience of dysregulated emotion and or age regression, and the next time that if they're a petulant borderline, they're yelling and screaming and picking a fight with you because they're re-experiencing something from their past in a dissociative, unconscious, like they're not aware of it way, then maybe later they might talk about it a little bit and go, yeah, well, you do remind me of my dad or my mom. And the thing is, when that happens, sometimes I just whatever. But then they're going to get triggered again. The whole thing's going to happen again. They're going to split you to the valuation. And by the way, they don't really even ever re-idealize. It might seem like it when you get back together if you're recycling a relationship. But again, back to my original question. With their fleeting awareness that comes and goes, doesn't change behavior or their ability to relate, they're not going to just automatically remit because they turn a certain age if they have had no treatment. In fact, anecdotally, people with BPD, just like people are saying about NPD out there right now, they get worse as they get older. And so many people are saying that about narcissists. So where is this like soft, kind of like wayward, but the borderline's going to age out? It's all predicated really on women with BPD and estrogen levels And when they get through the menstrual cycle, into the perimenopause, and into the menopause, and then maybe that's all their BPD was really about in the first place, right? No, it's crazy. It's absolutely way out there, and it doesn't even take it doesn't even take into account there are men out there with BPD. Yes, some men might have a little bit lower testosterone, a little bit higher estrogen count at certain points in their life, but estrogen isn't, like too much of it, too little of it. It's not really the definition of borderline personality disorder as far as I know. So do you really think that their fleeting awareness can really matter and change anything? Because all my experience with clients, my lived experience, etc., the answer on both sides of the fence is no. And borderlines, just like narcissists, but in their own unique way, are, when they apologize, more often than not, it's a non-apology apology. And when they apologize, even if they can give you some kind of really semi-fleeting aware, feeling some emotion or regret or remorse about something they did, kind of apology, the unfortunate thing about that is, without treatment, it's not going to change their behavior. Because like I said, next time they get triggered, it's going to happen all over again. So I think there's a lot of information out there. I'm going to be talking a lot more about things, probably doing way more podcasts and videos on this channel now, but there's a lot out there. And I've been looking at more and more of it, because a lot of the information that I kind of base what I say on is, some of it's lived on both sides of the fence. I had 2 cluster B parents, etc., alcoholics, had a lot in my family of origin, been around a lot of people with these issues, had my own problems, healed and recovered, had codependency, had relationships with a couple of cluster Bs after. So I've been in your shoes, and the thing about it is, I just think a lot of the newer information, and I'm starting to really go over that a lot more and re-go over it, is it's what people wish for, it's what people hope for, but a lot of it still doesn't make sense, especially that they're just going to age out. If they're just going to age out, then why doesn't everybody just kind of chill, leave each other alone, and wait for that magical moment? Because it doesn't really ever come. And BPD remission I will get into on the podcast or here on the channel, I don't know. But it's not BPD recovery. It's not the same thing as healing. And isn't it interesting, not speaking of apologies at the moment, that we've gone rather quickly from there's no cure for BPD, people have BPD forever, to this really, and I believe in it, positive prognosis, for people with BPD that will get treatment. And again, people with BPD who don't have a lot of comorbidities and or substance abuse issues, because that's going to make treatment a whole lot longer. And so I still believe that a lot of what I've said about length of time of treatment is true for a lot of people with BPD, because of a lot of different complicated reasons why. Dr. Fox talks about people with BPD, 3 to 7% of all people diagnosed with BPD may have what he refers to as, quote, pure BPD, unquote. Now that's going to make treatment, if they seek it, not easy, but much more doable, and maybe in a quicker fashion. Quick not meaning a year, though, or 10 months, or 5 minutes, or enough to change a relationship where too much damage has been done in already. But 93, so then Dr. Fox said, about 93%, if not more, who have BPD have what he calls complicated borderline personality disorder, which means comorbidities, other issues, and substance abuse and things of that nature, which are going to complicate and elongate treatment if people will go. So in the meantime, as I started off this video, I've sort of made it a hodgepodge thing, but are you really still looking for closure? Do you really want to try again? Do you not hurt enough yet? But the thing is, people with codependency don't want to face their own feelings. You want to rescue and change the other person so you can feel better. It doesn't work that way. You need your own healing and recovery process so you can feel better without wherever the borderline is or the borderline isn't. Do you really think that an apology is a reason to recycle a relationship? Do you really think that a Hoover apology that's probably just saying what you want to hear and not really anything but fleeting awareness, if even that, and probably half, like it's only half an apology, or it's a BPD non-apology apology, do you really think that's going to change things so that you should rush back so that you can just get your psyche and your self-esteem and your self-worth and your personhood and pummeled again, and so that you're gonna like lose yourself even more? I certainly hope not. Think about it, and don't be on the bandwagon of the wave of so much of the most recent information that seems to make BPD sound like they just scraped their knee and they need a band-aid. They'll be right back and it'll all be fine. That is absolutely not what you're going to experience with a person with BPD in any relationship type.